Yeah, I think tonight was a perfect display of I think what Sergi brings. I think he's reliable in all phases of the game, and defensively, he presses, he takes away, pivots. His graft for the group is immense. Offensively, just the nuance of his game is understanding that when a player is looking forward, his ability to win the position and hold the ball up. It allows the rest of the team to come forward. And again, those are things that often takes years for strikers because they're just worried about scoring goals and they're not thinking about how important that phase is to secure the ball, lay it off, to then get the next or the second or third pass after that. And so he just does a great job of that. And I think his athleticism is a bit underrated. His ability to break away from back lines and his timing of his runs. He did it a couple times today. Is spectacular. And then obviously his knack of scoring goals is something you can't teach. And so in Sergi, we have an unbelievable teammate and a top level player, and just super blessed to have him with the group.
With the fast start you guys had tonight, 4 goals in the first half, there was a lot of time to think and kind of watch the game after that. What were you impressed with your group at pulling onto that lead, and then maybe what were some things to work on?
Yeah. Again, I think it was probably the best half of football that I've seen in the time that I've been here. Just every phase, the way we pressed, the way we the way we turned our defensive actions into transition moments and quality chances, the way we built from the back. Hoffa did a fantastic job tonight of really playing the game on our terms against a team that likes to press. But again, I think everyone, and one of the things we talk about when managing games is if we're building as an 11, right? And if we're going direct, we're going as 11. And I think in the first half, encapsulated the team that we strive to be for 90 minutes. In the second half, and just talking with the performance group, not having a rhythm of games, the guys really left it all out there in the first half. We kind of ran out of gas a little bit, and I think the disappointing part was, and this is what I said to the group was, the one thing that is super important for anyone coming into the game is not quality, it's not tactical understanding, it's energy. It's energy. How do you um, how do you bring energy to the game? And if we're in a defensive block, you bring energy by stepping up, bumping players, bringing a bit of like you want to be seen. You want to infect the next guy next to you with energy because these guys, the majority of these guys are running on fumes. We haven't had a game in a bit. The first half was a huge expenditure of energy, and I just think that some of the guys that came in didn't provide the energy that we need. And the other part of that is managing games, and we talk about it all the time. Is when you have the lead, the one phase of the game that you don't want is transition. That's not that will always favor the team that's down because the spaces are open. We're out of position. We don't want that. Too many times early on in the first half, we were going for the killer pass. And so I think as a group, we have to evolve to understand we could have passed these guys to death early on and created much better opportunities on goal. Felt really good about our repressing those actions to create, again, control the game. And so I think in the second half, that those two things, we were trying to get the fifth goal, and in doing so, we allowed them to believe that they had a chance. And so this game is more psychological than it is tactical, technical on all these things. And when you're talking about the collective, and what we did is we gave them air every time we just played a pass that we didn't have to play forward, and they got it and they believed because now they're breaking. Now they get a corner kick. Now they believe even more. And now, and so that part for me is the frustrating part. But all those things given, hadn't played a game in a while. The team that we're playing is a fantastic team in San Diego. The guys coming in didn't bring the right energy that we needed for this game. All those things taken into consideration, I still think it was a fantastic performance.
A little bit on that note, just building off of kind of making the extra pass and that sort of thing. Sturgis comes in, he scores 2 goals. I thought his best decision though was that pass just out of Morgan for that final goal for you guys. Like, is that kind of what you're talking about? With his soccer IQ and being able to read the right play. Like he's getting pressed with the double team, and then he passes out of that and sets up just a banger.
Yeah, I mean, again, again, I think that encapsulates again. I think the understanding and like when I talk about winning the position and how nuanced that is when defenders need an outlet or we want to play forward, like how he wins the position and secures it. The same thing can be said in his decision making in the final third. And I think what's really special about him as well is he could have taken a shot from probably 18 yards out, but that just like team, the understanding that this is the best decision, maybe not for me to score, but for my teammate to score to help our team win. And I think that encapsulates his mentality towards this group.
What kind of confidence can that give a guy like Morgan? Who, I mean, it's hard to believe he's been so involved in the attack, but that's his first goal since.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I was grateful to throw him a ball signed by everyone for his first goal, because what is amazing is that he's made our attack exponentially better without scoring a goal. And so when I think the first one is, and he had a couple chances early on. I think now that he's hit the back of the net, I think it just kind of takes the pressure off him a little bit. And again, he's got an amazing shot with both his right and his left, and I'm always telling him to be more selfish. But again, and him not being selfish, he sets up his teammates, and so like that's the one thing I can promise you about Morgan. He's going to make our team better in every phase of the game. He's going to make our team better in the final third. And today he got what he deserved, which was his first goal.
Hey, Coach. Can you give us any update at all on PQ?
Yeah, so Philip just felt some tightness in his Achilles before the game out of nowhere, and with every step it was tightening up. So that's the other thing with our group, and Dre just being ready to go for 65, 70 minutes. I think it speaks volumes of the mentality of enduring a tough injury, waiting for his moment, and tonight he stepped in and did a masterful job, and really against this team that likes to really get in behind back lines, it was perfect for him. He did a great job of covering space. His decisions with the ball were really good, taking space when it was there, finding our pivots when it wasn't. I think he had a fantastic game, especially for not playing since the first game of the season, right? So just a real credit to Dre to be ready, and hopefully Phil gets on the mend here soon, and I think they're going to do some scans and figure out exactly what it is.
And yesterday when we were talking, I started to say something about controlling the controllables.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was going with that is it's so rare to see a young team as opposed to, say, San Diego, where we look at the results and we might forget that there have been controversial calls in almost every game that have not gone RSL's way.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight again,
Mm-hmm.
We get that interesting penalty call, but no one on this very young team you're coaching hangs their head. No one loses the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that mentality come from in a group that young?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to, I think, everyone believing so much into how good we can be as a team that no one wants to let the next guy down, and you see it in training every day, and even the young guys coming into games. My expectation is that they're going to do a great job. And that's why they go in the games, or else they wouldn't be on this team. And so obviously there's going to be a learning curve to that, and we got to be better with moments. But I guarantee you, the next game, anyone comes in, there's going to be real energy into the group. And again, I think that's the great thing about this younger group, is that they all want to get better. They just want all the information. They want to apply it. They don't want to let their teammates down. And I think when you have that in these younger players, you get the kind of team we have that can overcome. Even today, I'll just talk about obstacles and things that you can and cannot control. We were doing a pregame video and the TV wasn't working, right? So now we're like 15, 20 minutes beyond because we're trying to get this TV to work. And so then we end up splitting the group into two groups, the guys that are starting, and bring them to the coach's office. And there was no one going, oh, crap, this sucks. Like, I can't believe I have my prep work to do and I'm not getting it. No, they just get in the room, watch the video, they get on with it, So I think it's really about the culture, about how, we conduct ourselves, because a lot of these things are outside of your control. And when you focus on those things, then you end up giving away things that you can control. But this group is really special.
Thank you. And then just last one for me, what kind of luxury is it for you to be able to bring these young players in in a 3-match week that gets some minutes off of some of your
Yeah.
more veteran guys.
Yeah, no, that was. The game provided a fantastic opportunity. Obviously, Diego was cramping a little bit. Morgan was exhausted. Sergi had run himself into the ground, and so just having guys that are of great quality, great character, and like I said earlier, don't want to do anything to let the team down. They came in and gave everything. And so giving those guys a break will be really important because, again, everyone's going to want to play against Miami and show their stuff. And so we'll have, some decisions to make as to how we go about that. But just really good that everyone came away, other than Philip before the game, came away injury-free.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep, thank you, man.
Hey, Pablo, congrats on the win. How do you build on a win like this without letting the level that you're on drop?
Well, I think it's what I said after the game. I said these are points that we have to get better at as a group to control games and manage games, because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, the game for me is always psychological. When you have momentum, you're feeling great about yourself. When momentum's against you, now you're feeling poor about yourself. But we can affect how we feel given the way we want to play. And so I think it was a good learning opportunity for our group to manage games. And I think, instead of coming in after the game and going, oh, this is a fantastic game, it was a good performance. Probably the best first half. The second half felt like it was never in our control. And so that's one thing that has to improve so that we can all feel really good about ourselves coming into the game afterwards and going, even if it's a 1-0 game, we still got to control the game the right way, right? And make good decisions to help us manage those games. And so it was a good opportunity today after the game to really hit on that point, and just keep our head down, because we want to be great. At the moment, I think we're a good team, and there's a lot of things that we have to go through as a group to be great. And so there's always learning opportunities for us.
Now, with the game like today, what impressed you the most? The execution or the mentality?
Yeah, I think it was a game of two halves, really. I think the first half, the execution and the mentality was the best. Again, the best I've seen in this stadium. It was. I was a fan of the first half, not really a coach. It was really about enjoying this. I mean, just the football was just like incredible. The way we built from the back, the way we created chances on goal, and then obviously the second half was a little bit different. The game asked for something different, and again, we all have to learn from this moment. But I think, again, when you win the game 4-2, there's a lot to be happy about. But I think for me, it's more content, with a real roll up your sleeves mentality for these next two games.
And my last one is, what message does this win send to the rest of the league?
I don't know. I don't really. Again, those are things you can't control. We're not here to impress anybody. We're here to be the best that we can be, and the only way we do that is for all of us as a staff, for all of us as players, to show up every day with your lunch pail, understand that you want to be better than you are today, and put in the graft. And again, I think the game on Saturday is won Monday through Friday. There's no shortcuts in this sport. There's no shortcuts in life. The graft you put forth is the reward you receive in the end. And that's who we are, and that's what we're aiming to be.
Thank you.
TJ.
Probably you've said multiple times the first 45 was the best 45. Was that the best the press has ever been, and did everything else that went right feed off of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts again because you know me, DJ. I talk about the front four being front in this setup. It's really the front three being the best defenders on our team. And when Luna scores that goal from a press, it validates everything that we talk about every day. It couldn't have been better, right? And so then I think that momentum goes, okay, now Diego's pressing again, and Morgan's pressing again, and Serge is pressing again, and then you pick up second balls. And I think what really struck me is the decision making in the first half, the execution of the actions. Whether we were playing long filtering passes to our 9, Serge was holding it up, bouncing it to a pivot, out to Morgan, engaging 2v1s in the wide areas. Everything just flowed. And the other thing that we talk a lot about is the rotations of our front three, right? There's times where Diego was on the far right, Serge was on the left, and Morgan was in the middle. And those three just having the freedom to roam, but yet executing as a team at a really high level was quite impressive for me.
As good as this was, it seems like there's still unrealized potential, and partly with Morgan, because it looks like he sees things ahead of time and he's scanning the field, and teammates feel if like they're off his shoulder behind him, like he doesn't know, but he does, and he plays him the ball in space, and it caught multiple guys flat-footed. And I know you're playing a lot of young guys up there, so how quick can you get them to the point where they're seeing what he's seeing?
Yeah, no, I think this is I talk about this all the time. Is there's no better people to learn from. People think it's coaches, but it's really big brothers that are executing in real time. The way he trains, the way he sees passes, and before, I mean, Goza made a few nice passes in between the lines, between their back line and their midfield line, filtering passes into the 9. And that's what Morgan does all the time, right? And so when these guys, and the way Steiny works and operates and is always head on a swivel in the decisions he makes, these are the best mentors for these younger players because they're doing it in real time. And when these experienced players with quality buy into the concept of team, now this is elite, So, I think Morgan, I think as the season goes, it'll be hopefully even sharper. But again, I think that first half, for me, is unbelievable.
Rafa Cabral didn't have much to do tonight, but then it's 4-2 at the end of the game. He makes 2 huge saves in the last 10 minutes. One as time runs out, and then the one on Dreyer that was right over the top of his head. I mean, as good as everybody feels tonight, that was pretty close to being a disaster at the end if he doesn't step up.
And again, I think this is what I'm talking about managing games. We didn't have to put ourselves in that situation for Rafa to do those things. If we would have handled the previous 35 minutes in a better way, right? But if we don't, you have quality, experience, and leadership in front of that goal. And so, the tough thing for me to swallow is how good Rafa's been, and we still haven't had a shutout. And those are things that we talk about internally. Like we've got to do better to help him out, And I think we could have done much better on that first goal. The second goal, I talked to Ishmael, the referee, and said, "Listen, man, I know you're the best referee in this league, but I have some questions about it." And he says, "Well, the next time I see you, we'll talk about it to see what you saw." So, again, those things, and the tough thing is, those moments change games. Again, the belief factor, right? Now now it's 4-2, and now they're only 2 away. So everything matters. Unfortunately, those aren't things we can't control. But the guys were steadfast in the resolve, and carried on and found a way. Again, defending these corners late in games, I mean, those are tough times, right? Everyone's a little bit nervous, and that the one that he took off his face to help the team preserve a two goal lead was I think case in point of what Rafa brings to this club.
Thanks.
Yep.
Giles?
Congrats, Lou and Pablo. After a win like this, what do you say to the boys after, where you mentioned there was a very strong first half and maybe a little lackluster second half, going into a big match coming up Wednesday with another match following a few days after? What's your message to the boys to keep them focused?
Yeah, again, I think just harping on the game management piece and the expectations for guys coming into games and really bringing the energy up for our group. And I think those two things will be really critical for all the games we play, not necessarily the next 2, but for us to really mature as a team and feel comfortable managing the game. Again, I think, like I said earlier, I think early on in the second half, we almost got our minds wrapped around the fact that it was okay to have a lot of transition moments because of the decisions we were making when we didn't have to make them, right? And that it starts snowballing without you even knowing it. You're on the field and you're just reacting, and everyone's doing it, so I'm going to do it. And there was a couple of good spells where I think we got good control of the game, but it wasn't enough to take away their belief that they actually could come back into the game. And so I think those are the 2 biggest points I think to take away from this game in lieu of the next 2 games we have this week.
And last one for me. You've talked about Stein and how he elevates the midfield. From several people we've heard now, from fans and from other commentators, comparing him a little bit to Kyle Beckerman, being someone who has a lot of first-hand experience with Kyle Beckerman. Do you think that's a fair comparison?
I would say they're a little different, but I think they both bring the same, which is a level of belief within the group. Kyle was, I would say he had an edgy side to him, where I think Stein he gets in there, but I think Kyle made his game around not only being super quality with the ball and scoring some bangers, but also being a player that you didn't want to come down the middle of the field when he was on the field. And again, Stein has that in a different way, but they're both fantastic players.
Thank you.
Yep.
Couple of back-to-back games that we've seen Alex step up with Juan Lavina. Just talk about how big of a piece that Alex has been in that absence.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think he's been immense, and we had conversations with Alex early on when we were bringing Juanma in, and the one thing I said to him is like, man, if we're going to be a great team, we're going to need great players that are competing for spots and that step up when called upon. And to me, Alex has been a consummate professional whilst not getting a lot of minutes, and very difficult for a player who's not playing regularly to have the type of performances that he's had in these last 2 games. They've been top, and I could tell you that I knew it was going to happen because Monday through Friday, Alex is training his butt off, and he's making great decisions. He's staying after and working on his crossing, making So I think that's, again, I keep saying this group is special, but what the special is just the graft and the commitment to their own craft. You know what I mean? Like they want this for their own careers, but they realize that there's so many quality players on this team that everyone wants to be a part of it. And if you want to be a part of it, when your name is called, you got to do the business. And Alex has done the business in the last 2 games.
And then last question for me: how are you helping the boys avoid the outside noise leading into Wednesday's game? Obviously, with all that.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much we can do. And again, I think that's why we spend 95% of the time talking about ourselves and what we can do to get better as a group. Obviously everyone's going to know Messi's coming into town and that whole thing, and everyone's probably going to be excited about it. But what we'll be talking about the next few days is really about how we can get one game better, really highlight the areas where we were elite, and then just hit on those areas where if we want to beat Miami, we want to beat LA, we've got to improve in these phases.
Caleb, did you have a question?
Yeah, sure. Pablo, the player performance out on the field, did that meet your standards? And were there any concerns just by on the win and stuff?
No, I think the first half it exceeded what my expectations were. The way we came out of the gates, especially not having played in a few weeks, you never know how the guys are going to feel about going out against a team or San Diego but defensively they pressed really well. Attacking transition was great, and then the build phase was incredible in the decisions that they made, and so I think the second half was concerning, again, just controlling the game on our terms, and a good learning opportunity for us, and something that we'll need to improve upon for these next few games.
Awesome. And one more question: how do you feel about Alexander Castranas and how well he's been doing, and these past few games, obviously, and do you feel confident about him, obviously in the future, with his development, his development?
He just answered the Catranas question a second ago, so let's go to Kayla, and then we'll go to Carlos.
Just a quick question on, you've talked about bringing the energy and keeping that energy up throughout the whole 90 minutes. How do you bring that out of the guys, and how do you, especially with a quick turnaround on Wednesday and on Sunday, how do you keep that energy up and help them to keep that as well?
Yeah, so good question. I think a part of that will be obviously how we manage the guys from a physical load these next few days. That'll be really important to hopefully have them recover. But like I said, after this game is, even if we make some tweaks tactically, our mentality should never change, right? So I'll give you an example on throw-ins in the first half. We're marking to win the ball. In the second half, we were giving them space to keep the ball, and so these little tweaks affect your psychology, and it almost feels like then we're never pressing. We're just going to sit in the block, and when you change your mentality because of a tactical tweak, then I have to figure out the right messaging to make sure that we stay aggressive in everything we do, because that is also the way we train. So when we train, every exercise is 110 miles an hour. I mean, it is just full go. And then we allow them to get full recovery, and then we go again. So we train to have this mentality. But again, I think a big part of that was also not having a game in a couple weeks. And so it's hard to build the momentum and the physical requirements that games ask of you. So these next couple games will be interesting as well. We definitely don't want to put these guys in a tough spot. You know, Gozo was running on fumes, Diego and all those guys were running on fumes. So it's going to be a collaborative effort to make sure that we get best group we can on the field, but also be cognizant that today was, especially that first half, was a huge load for the guys.